Hey folks, so we have our B-pillar panel mocked in place. These two are welded together. So just to recap, if you didn't watch my other video, I screwed up my holes here and then welded on the back side on my welding table. So if we look at what we got going on, this is in its essentially home position. For alignment purposes, because you do have to align this, it is important because when you put on your door, you want to make sure it's able to hit the striker. If it's too far back, you're gonna have to shim it. It's not a horrible big deal, but it's better if you just have it aligned. So and this is not a point to go off on, and nor is this. So what we have to take measurements of is this way, and also some reference point off of the rocker panel. And we measured up. We measured from here going up. I also measured to make sure that this was relatively the same size as the OEM. And I just did a bunch of measurements. You'll see what type of measurements you'll have to do to try and align it. It's best to do it before you even take out your original panel. Mine was just so fiddled that I just didn't bother because it wasn't going to be accurate. So I just did the good side, which was the passenger side. So what is the problems that I'm seeing with the mock-up in place is over here, this drip rail panel is aftermarket. I actually sectioned up here, which I have to still clean up. I sectioned that in, and then afterwards I put on my molding to make sure that everything was in its correct location for the molding. And then I tacked it in place and then removed the molding and then welded it. So here I have to cut. So this distance I also measured up to a reference point on the same side as the passenger, and they're the same. So I also use my angle finder or protractor to look at what the angle was, and the angle was different. So this one is about 22 degrees, the other one is about half that. So this has got to get cut about here. This is just showing me a reference. I'm not actually going to cut this way, but it's showing me I have to get rid of some of this because I can't do anything on this. Where else is the problem? I'm going to show you the back side, but essentially what you're going to see is that I have to bend this flange in more because this distance is not the same on both side panels, but the distance from here up for the striker plate is the same. So the problem is the bottom. Not to mention, this is an alignment hole, which is why I have this in here. That is good. That basically gets me locked in for this way. So, as well as this being here, clocks it to where it needs to be rotationally. In relation to its translation, it is going to be this bottom piece, which you can't go off of because this could be wrong, but it's not because I measured from here up on both sides and it's good to go. So if we see what I did on over here, see I had to bend that, and that sucked. So we're going to fix that by bending it to an angle of which I can weld it to the rocker, because this flange here welds to the rocker, and this actually goes into a hole for some reason, but it goes into a hole. It's on both sides. I don't know why, but it's there. So I'm not going to mess with that at all. I'm just going to leave it as it is. But you first have to put 1, 2 together. Once you have those two together, then you put it on here, you get your alignment, and then you see where you have to shave or add. So in my case, I had to shave, and I had to shave about almost a ½ inch off this just for it to go in. There was a weird tab down here. I had to cut that off. And so now we're good to go. So now we're gonna take this back out, clean up the wells on this side, sand it down, prime it, and then afterwards weld it in place. Well, I also have to do some more work on this side. So on this side, outboard from, inside the car. Outboard, I have to sand that down and then weld through prime it as well. And then I should be good to go. So, all right, that's all I got.